When you're invited to become part of the child community, you're invited to discover for yourself what it is to be a stand for children. You're invited to explore how you can generously contribute to someone's life and really, really see that you have the ability to transform what a school experience is such that a child can be successful the rest of his life. That's being the child way. The whole idea of child was to provide a different foundation so that children could make it in public school. It was being very intentional about what it was we were working on that were the missing foundational pieces, like building blocks.
So those building blocks actually were something that the leadership of Child and some key employees examined at about our 30-year mark.
It was a common experience for groups of us on staff to meet together to revisit our own commitments to this work. So we sat down together, and it was the key players plus different stakeholders from different levels of involvement, and it became what we now call the Child Way. 7 tenets that capture and that ground us in the work very quickly, very powerfully, and keep us aligned as a community that can then deliver on the intention from the beginning.
Those tenets that we talk about hold, they're sustainable, and it starts with building an intimate community.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. And that keyword intimate was one that staff had to play with. It's about we really know you. We know what makes you tick. What we realized that intimate community can't be created unless you take the parent seriously as a 24-hour expert on their child. There was no way that you could be intimately involved with a child's life and not know that family.
It happens every time we invite a family into the conversation about how their child is doing in school. Parents get talked to a lot when their child doesn't do what's expected.
It was so important to me that the genuine concern of the parent be totally acknowledged and invited into the partnership from day one.
It isn't just the children and the families, though, in this community.
No.
So we have to invest in our staff and what we hold for them, how we train, what we're doing with them.
If we didn't take on training as part of our commitment to our staff, we would get everybody's best version of what someone else had taught them some other place.
That holds today in 2017 too. And it isn't about finding the most experienced person on the planet that's got just what we think is the secret sauce for working with these children, right? It's something different because they're joining a community that's very different than anything they've been previously exposed to.
When people come to join us, we have to not only acknowledge that they're going to have gifts and they're going to have things that still need to be developed. So we literally have our own 2 years of curricula that all of our newcomers are expected to explore in order to get fully grounded in doing the work well.
One of the things that we have to look at is how the world occurs for the child.
This business of exploring how it occurs for the child is a whole new notion for most people in education. The children we're talking about are children who will confound you no matter what approach you bring. And if you're not used to asking yourself, I wonder what this experience is for this learner, for this child, for the one who cannot participate, the one who doesn't engage, the one who says, not for me, or you can't make me do that, or let me out of here. What's going on for that child? So one of the things we take on with gusto is, where's the interference? And that's where you look.
Because it's about how they feel, what information is coming to them through their sensory system. I think once a child feels heard, just like families, then it opens up an opportunity for the child to begin exploring what stops them, what's a block for them, what's thwarting whatever the demand is that's been placed on them.
Well, and that's the shift Because in the fields of mental health and in the therapies that we know of and in education, all the adults are trying to figure out what's wrong with the kid. But very often it's not translated to the child if there's a genuine reason why this is difficult for you or why you probably don't like it very much. But unless we invite it and we help the child build a sense of how they learn, how they cope, how they get along with other kids, then it stays out there as adult work, not the child's ownership of himself. And he's not very resilient. He's still dependent on the teachers figuring it out, the therapist figuring it out.
And inviting that child into the conversation starts very early problem solving for kids.
Well, we were searching for a model that would help us. And we found a gentleman by the name of Ross Green, who had created this beautiful model that started with problem solving with the child. We were given the concept of looking at it through a lens of the child will, if he can, and if he can't, get to work. Figure out what's in the way. That's our work.
It also feeds the extended conversation for our staff, which is what are we learning?
If you watch and listen, children tell you exactly what they need. It isn't as mysterious as it might appear. Many of the children that we work with are the children that teachers say, I have no idea why he did that. It just came out of nowhere and I don't understand it. But then you look again and you put your ideas together and you realize we can figure this out by inviting the child into the conversation, not being the adults who know all things.
Gives us a great opportunity because we do stand for always looking for the lessons learned. Mm-hmm. Did it go as we expected, as we intended? And if it didn't, that it isn't about right and wrong or blame and shame.
Blame and shame seem to be something that most of our children have had a good diet of. By not really reflecting on what we're observing and what the child is revealing is really not doing them a service. It's simply keeping in place that perception that the child is the problem, the behavior is the problem. What we do is turn that over and say it's not the behavior that's the problem, it's that we're not looking at that behavior as a clue to what's underneath what appears to be a problem.
If a child struggles with learning, faced with the choice of, I don't know, I can't learn, or I'm stupid,
Yeah.
right? The other opportunity is I run away, I create chaos,
Sure.
I am the class clown, I have to go to the principal's office a lot. But not being able to be with, I can't do this. Everybody else can do it. I can't. You know, the first step into our world at child, the only thing that's different for this child is geography.
That's right.
It's just another place that they're going to go and do poorly.
These are children who are almost burned by educational experience to date, and they have to be invited into being present and participating, taking risks, and learning.
Our staff and the adults who work with these children have the greatest success when they realize that the child's behavior has absolutely nothing to do with them personally, and it has all to do with how the world is occurring for that child.
Completely. That's when you're free to really deal with it, rather than have opinions about it. The adults have to really free themselves up all the time from the things that hook them or that cause them to feel uncomfortable around certain kinds of behaviors. Boy, that almost got me today. I felt this coming up, or I felt that thought, or I wanted to say, and I didn't, because I realized it's not about me.
And when you've refocused back to what does this child need,
Yes.
that's the stand for success.
And what burns us out as grown-ups is our indignation and our disappointment in ourselves as well as in our best laid plans. So if we're brave enough, there's enough courage, which is what a community that's intimate can create, If we're all asking the same question, do I want to repeat that again? Or do I need to tweak it, adjust it, modify it, shift gears, and try something different? And when we're free to do that, the child gets the best of the adults in the environment.
As we look at holding the child way, we examine whether or not it still holds true. Is there something that doesn't work anymore or that we need to tweak or re-examine?
We want there to be a set of beliefs that anyone can try on and find comfort with because they have been time tested, so that every new board member, every new family, every school district person, everyone on our staff can know that they are a stand for children in a way that is aligned. When you are grounded in a core belief that reminds you that it's really about these amazing children, it's really about their future, it's really not about, in this moment, I didn't do what I wished I could do. It lifts you right up to the whole point of it. Well, we know that what we're doing is a bright spot in the universe to which others can come and learn. And that's what we intend to be, is a regional resource that is sustainable, that can be that bright place where people get lifted up and they go on with their lives armed with new skills, new foundational capacities, new ways to be in the world. That's our work at Child, and it takes all of us to do it.
If you don't know what gets you hung up and what threatens you and what it is about these children's behavior that is common to yourself even as an adult, if you can't recognize this in yourself, I don't really think you're going to be very successful in relating to them as people, as human beings. You can teach them a lot of stuff that will help them in public school, but I don't think it will help them live.